guys, this is part 2 of my um, portfolio from Multicultural Student Education, my final portfolio piece. Part 1 I just kind of discussed a broad overview of some things I learned in my experience. Now I'd like to go over my other portfolio pieces and just discuss some important things that I have learned and reflected on from them. So one of the first ones we went over or that I did was called Social Snapshot, and this is where we take a look at racial hegemony, or hegemony, you can say it either way, and how there are misrepresentations and stereotypes that are perpetuated for different races, and how this isn't okay. I took a look at Latinos, and in my portfolio piece I uploaded several images that and other things that reflected the perhaps offensive or incorrect stereotypes that we often have about this culture. And what this project helped me to understand was that we really do perpetuate stereotypes, and while we might think it's funny or innocent, these stereotypes are often very harmful. Some of the things that I discovered as I was researching the way many Americans perceive Latinos is that we have turned them into this silly looking people, or people that don't have high standards or high quality of living. One of the pictures I have is a huge group of Mexicans dressed in ponchos and sombreros with their flag running across the United States border. And I think often we limit our ideas and beliefs of this people to these images, these few images of like crazy amounts of Mexicans crossing our border, and that's wrong, because we can't define people within those limited stereotypes. It's not fair and it's not right, and by so doing we can really prevent them from having the same rights and privileges that we have, especially in the classroom. I never want to look at a Latino student and think that, or assume that he or she is here illegally, or that they are uneducated, or that they are all poor, and those might be circumstances that they live in, but I'm not going to make those assumptions based on their race. And that is one thing that I have become more aware of, that racial hegemony exists, or that discrimination exists, and I don't want to be part of perpetuating that. And so one of the first things I can do is just become aware of the stereotypes and the problems that exist, so that I make sure that I don't continue to teach or assume things that are not correct or true. So moving on from there, I also, let's see what my next portfolio piece is. I had to put together a piece with my own culture, and a lot of it revolved around American culture. I have incorporated pictures of social media and Santa Claus, our focus on health and fitness, political views, ideals with family and marriage. And doing this project helped me to understand a little bit of what makes me me, and why I believe what I believe. And it was good to go through that, because it helped me to realize that my experiences and my circumstances have really created who I am. And just having that understanding will help me to look at my students and see that their lives and their own experiences and what they've been taught in their lives by their families, and their all their values and ideals, that comes from the experiences they've had, which may differ completely from my own. And so if I understand that, I'll be able to have more compassion and understanding with my students, trying to understand who they are and where they come from and what's important to them. Understanding that it is really important to me as a teacher, so that I can help them to feel safe and to learn, to be able to apply material in the classroom to their lives. So one thing important that I learned was that I need to be aware of why people are the way they are. Try to understand that, and understanding that will help me to be able to approach a relationship with them and interaction with them a lot better. So after this portfolio piece, I had a really cool experience. This was called Being the Other, and I was the assignment was for me to go to a place with people I would be the other or the minority. In the culture I live in, I'm definitely not the minority. I'm a white Mormon girl at BYU in Utah, United States, middle class, and very privileged. And I live in a very comfortable place. And so I'm going to have students that don't feel that way, that feel very different, that are the minority, and I need to be able to understand where they're coming from. And so this project where I had to put myself in a place where I would be the other, the minority, was really cool. I went to one of the BYU clubs here on campus. It was the Black Club for Black students, and they meet almost every week, and they were what I did was I went with them on a tour at the Museum of Art here on campus to look at some Black history and look at the art and the story that it tells about Black culture. And I was a little nervous at first. I didn't really know what to expect at all. So that was interesting. And I got there to the museum and I found the group. I was still really uncomfortable. I didn't know where I was going, what I was doing, or if I would be welcomed. But it was wonderful to feel that they really did welcome me and want me to feel comfortable. And the experience was good. It was interesting to see like how much I wanted to be accepted. I knew this club meeting would only last an hour or so, but even then, within that hour, I felt the need to be accepted, and I tried to do everything that I could based on what I observed in that social situation to be accepted. And so I reached out and tried to talk to some of them, and luckily they reached out and talked to me as well. There was one girl that accompanied me most of the time as well, and that gave me a great sense of security, feeling that acceptance from her. And so it helped me to realize that that's something my students need to feel as well. Often, many of them will come in feeling like the other, feeling like the minority, even students who may not physically look like the other. And all people need to feel accepted and loved and welcomed. And so that's something that I want to create in my classroom by helping students interact with one another, to learn to accept each other for who they are. And that's something I certainly want to do as a teacher, is to make every single student feel loved and accepted in my classroom. And just being aware that that's a need that people have, and knowing what it feels like to not have that, I think that I will be much better equipped in approaching this issue. Just to finish up, I'll just talk about one more portfolio piece. So I really enjoyed getting to do the book club as well. I read Honky by Dalton Conley. Several other students in my class read this book as well, and we discussed it. And it was good having this reading assignment. This book talked about a white boy growing up in a very diverse community of Blacks and Latinos in inner city New York, and his experience helped me to recognize again that many of my students will not have the experience that I had going to school. Many will be going through difficult things like poverty and dealing with discrimination and race issues or gender issues, and that can be really hard and really scary. And when you're dealing with those kind of problems, school and English class usually aren't going to be at the top of your priority list. And so I wanted to be aware of that as a teacher. not only there to teach content, I am also there to help teach these kids how to find a place in the world, how to love life, how to succeed. And more than anything, I want them to know and feel that even if the rest of the world is terrible and awful and hard, even if the rest of their lives is a struggle, that they can find refuge in my classroom. And I don't want to be a savior of any kind, and I'm not there to fix their lives or their problems, but I would love to be able to give them an hour every day where they can feel secure, and I have a lot of control over that by the way I allow my students to treat one another the way that I treat them. I want respect to be a huge part of the classroom, and I want it to feel safe enough where students can feel like they can open up and share their thoughts and their feelings, where we can learn from one another, where our differences and the diversity that each student brings will benefit everyone. It won't be a disability, it won't be detrimental, it won't be a disadvantage, no matter what our differences are. I want to utilize those differences and consider them strengths so that we can all be benefited and edified. And that is definitely one of my main goals now as a teacher. So I am grateful for this class experience. I've been able to learn a great deal from it. And I hope that going forward I will be able to really continue to learn how to approach these difficult issues that I will face as a teacher, that these students are facing in their lives, so that I can create a safe place where these students can learn more than just English, but where they can really learn how to live a happy life. And that is about a wrap. So that's all I've got for you. Thanks.